D. Nigel Green, our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Jennifer Reed Davis, our Chief of Equity, to share out what we're doing as a network to dismantle racism.
Good morning. That panel was incredibly powerful, and I'm so grateful to have been at Noble long enough to have heard those words. And so thank you, panel, so much. I'm D. Nigel Green, Noble's founding Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And I want to thank you for welcoming us into your virtual spaces today. So, kind of racist philosopher Voltaire has a quote that always sticks with me. He once said, "One day everything will be well. That is our hope. Everything's fine today. That is our illusion." We've just heard from our panel that subconsciously or consciously, well-intended or not, we have taken racist actions and have created racist outcomes at Noble. We can no longer operate under the illusion that everything is well. As we sit in this organizational awareness, I appreciate that A, we are at least aware, and B, I also hope that we are uncomfortable. Personally, I value awareness because clarity and truth are the elements that allow us to make the decisions we need to as individuals. As the colloquial adage goes, when you know better, you do better. I value discomfort because that is the feeling that tells us that change must be made. And that change begins with the difference that each of us can make in our schools, in our homes, and in our communities. In the words of Keisha Lance Bottoms from our most recent Democratic National Convention, people often think they can't make a difference like our civil rights icons, but every person in the movement mattered. Those who made the sandwiches, swept the church floors, stuffed the envelopes, they too changed America, and so can we. We all have a role to play, and we all have to do this work. For all of us, it's about reflecting, internalizing, and improving our practice. For some, it will be about being leaders that walk what they talk. For some, it will be about innovation to our current work. For some, it's about sharing your expertise to push our work further by applying to be a member of Noble's DEI steering committee. For others, it will be about motivating people and providing the push to do all of the above. If you know someone that needs a push to shine in their own unique way, be that push, be Noble. I look forward to the next portion where we hear from my leader, Founding Chief Equity Officer, Jennifer Reed Davis, about the changes Noble has made and the changes we will continue to make.
Greetings, Noble family. I am Jennifer Reed Davis, Noble's first Chief Equity Officer. I want to start off by saying thank you. Thank you to everyone that has made this moment possible. From our teachers, to our staff, to our NST team. We know that this is not an easy feat, and yet it takes an entire team to make it all come together. So thank you. Thank you to all of our teachers and administrators who are working so hard to open up our buildings, and to our Noble Daycare, who are also taking care of our little ones to make sure that we are providing a safe environment for everyone this fall. My last piece of gratitude goes to the panelists that just finished. A very important conversation, and if we're honest, one that is overdue. In June, our CEO, Constance Jones, declared that Noble will be becoming an anti-racist organization. And I don't know if we all knew exactly at that moment what that would entail, but one thing is for sure, that the bar for accountability is much higher with that. And so, reconciliation has to be a part of our process. We cannot heal what we do not first name. And though Noble has some of the best results in the country, we also have to admit that we've done some harm to our families, our staff, and our children along the way. And so though it's not an easy conversation to have, it's one that we must have. We must reconcile our past so that the pathway for our future is clear. You know, right now I am celebrating 10 years at Noble, and I have both grown and had a transformational journey professionally as well as personally. Professionally, I started off as a ninth grade civics teacher at Rauner College Prep. I had the wonderful opportunity to serve as principal at both Rauner and DRW. And my experiences at both of these schools has changed who I am as a teacher, as a leader, as an educator, and as a Black woman. I've also grown up at Noble, starting here at just 25 years old, thinking that I knew everything, and realizing that there was a whole lot more left to learn. And now, as a new mom to a 2-week-old baby, my perspective hasn't changed that much, but it is definitely more energized. Creating equitable outcomes for our staff and our students has never, ever been more central to my work as it is today. But this isn't really about me. It's about Noble's story, Noble's journey when we think about our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion. The murders of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd has definitely awakened our country. But the truth is that a lot of us have been woke about this work and these issues for a long time now. And so we can make a choice as an organization. We can be performative and do all the things that brings a lot of attention to the work, or we can be transformative, meaning that we take a deep look at ourselves, we internalize this reflection, we capture this moment, and we make long-standing, sustaining change that our children and communities deserve. Noble's mission is to be a catalyst for educational equity. That means we start the change. We don't just finish it. And so when I think about our journey at Noble, it's been a long one of incremental change. Sometimes when I'm listening and talking to people across Noble, I sometimes hear this rhetoric of like, we don't really do anything around DEI work at Noble, or it's just been lip service. And though sometimes the changes may feel small, because as President Obama reminds us, progress is not always linear. We cannot be discouraged by our growth thus far. I think back to 2016 when Noble made its first commitment to being intentional around diversifying our staff. And now in 2020, we are opening our school year with our most diverse staff ever, with 60% of Noble staff self-reporting as people of color in our instructional and leadership roles. We have our most diverse Chiefs team as of today. I think back to the work that we've done with our Dreamers and the Pritzker Access Scholarship Fund, doubling down and making sure that all of our students, including our Dreamers, have a Noble chance at a college education. Even more, to Noble's first CEO of color, the Diverse Leaders Fellowship launching its third cohort, our equitable pay scale, or our work around the Black boy experience at Noble. We've done a lot. And though we are not done, we cannot, we just should not, let our past work go unnoticed. I close with this. When I think about the work that lies ahead, I am reminded of Representative John Lewis's last letter to America, where he tells us that we can redeem the soul of America. And I do believe that to be true. I believe that every single team has to have an opponent. And we, Noble, are one team. From our parents, to our social workers, to our culture team, to our teachers, principals, our managers and directors, our chiefs, and our board. We are all one team, one Noble. We cannot make each other the opponent this year. We cannot afford to be distracted in that way. We have one opponent, and that opponent is racism. We know that the education system was never built for our children anyway, and yet we at Noble, we defy all odds, and we make sure that every single child gets the education they deserve. That work has to continue. We have to continue to get in good trouble. So be counted, be heard, be Noble. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. And welcome to the world, Sanaa. We're already working on your behalf. At Noble, we are serving communities. We are serving families. We are serving children. There is no question that we serve. The question we must ask ourselves moving forward is, how are we serving? Is our goal to have our children ready to be in the world, ready for the world, or at our greatest, and most importantly, at their greatest, ready to challenge and thus change the world? John Gardner says, all too often on the long road up, young leaders become servants of what is rather than shapers of what might be. And we need our children to be shapers of what might be. And therefore, each of us needs to be shapers of what might be. There is the good, and there is the good enough. We, Noble, can't settle for good enough, because good enough doesn't do enough good. We need to be the good. Not perfect, not flawless, but the good. And in doing so, we need to create the necessary good trouble required to truly serve and exceptionally shape what might be. For the children we know well, and those we're meeting in a few short days, for the children in our own homes and the children of our colleagues, and for me, for the many mountain lions, for the Maxes, Nolans, Devins, Chios, and Chazes of the world, for the Jayleens, Ardens, Noels, Sailors, Laurens, and now the Sanaz of the world, for Jacob Blake's children. One day, everything will be well, says Voltaire. That is our hope. And that is why we choose to get in good trouble.